All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest this week on the Kill Your Internet podcast is, I don't even know like where to go with this, multi-hyphenate. So we got lawyer, writer, producer, podcaster, advocate for all things awesome, and the greatest dunker on of trolls on the internet, Miss Kelsey Trainor. How we doing today?
What's up? What's up?
I want you to realize how like appreciative I am of your ability to dunk on trolls on the internet. Like you take no shit on the internet, and I love that.
You know, I try my dunks. I try to be a little subtle and maybe cerebral about my dunks,
Which makes them better.
I know, and also it makes me still semi-professional because you know I've got some type of reputation to maintain. Although I don't know how much I'm doing it.
No, you're doing a great job. But to me, the way that there's a difference between telling somebody to go fuck themselves and to quietly and politely tell them that they are wrong and dumb. And you do it the correct way. So I want you to know I appreciate that.
That's amazing. I have no other goals, nothing else left to accomplish. So that's it.
Good, you nailed it, dude. Just retire. You're done.
Mic drop. Walk out.
All right. So first thing I want to touch on is, as our last guest, Bruce Warren, was, Kelsey is also a fellow Philadelphian. Kelsey, do you want to just tell me how much you appreciate that?
Philly, man. Like it's in your blood. There's everything about it. You know, Wawa, hoagies. You know, just
you're saying all things that I love.
I mean, I can go straight like around Philly people. I go straight into my accent. Like, what are you doing?
Do.
Like, I'm so mad. You know.
It's funny because we met for the first time at a show in New York because Kelsey lives in New York and we were playing Rockwood Music Hall and you were so our touring violin player Caroline is in law school and Kelsey happened to be her boss, right?
Yeah, she interned for my law firm when I was a lawyer in Philadelphia, and and then her aunt was the paralegal at that law firm for years. Her aunt was like my work best friend. And one day I'm sitting there and Caroline's in there. I'm like, you must be the niece who plays the violin. Because she talked about her all the time. And then of course, you know, met her and she was up there at law school and she's outstanding. I mean, come on. All of you guys are outstanding. I mean, you play music like insane. I will say, if people ask me what my favorite band is, I say Foxtrot and the Get Down.
And you know what? We love you for that. We really do. This is fun for me because not only is this a friendly conversation, because from time to time we'll have like people on here we're not like exactly close with, but we admire. This is a friendship and an admiration for what you do. So I just want to start by saying that. I want to know, like right off the bat, we've been asking all of our guests on this. How's quarantine treating you?
I can't complain. You know, I'm healthy. I got a roof over my head. I got a Wawa down the street, and I'm working. And I know other people are. It's tough out there, so I can't complain. I'm fortunate. You know, that's all I hear out of me.
It's one of those things to where you don't want to say like I'm doing well because there's like an empathy level that you have for other people. But like I'm also in the same boat as you, to where I'm thankful, I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm good. But you just gotta have a good thought for everybody out there who isn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for someone with as many jobs, as many hats as you wear, like this has to, especially with no sports, because we're gonna get into this because I know your love of sports. Like, what is occupying your time right now? Like, other than work, like, what are you binging or what are you doing? Like, are you making things?
I am not doing anything but work. I mean, I'm busier than I've ever been. You know, we've had to adjust to, you know, one of my jobs is for a media company that has a live news network, and we cover live trials. So we've had to adjust to a remote studio. So everything having to deal with that. And plus, we're in the business. We have multiple websites, so we're creating content, and obviously, that's what everyone's consuming right now.
And we're on the content creation side as well, obviously, you know, between the podcast and the band. Like, have you noticed a positive change in the people that you're working with? Like, have you seen more creativity out of them, or have you seen a higher level of productivity, a lower level? Like, because for us, like we've been saying, we've been oddly more productive during this time. Like being that you're working with a media company, like how is that working for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely in terms of what things that can and can't be done in an office. Like, I think we're realizing more and more can just be done remotely. I know creatively, like people are kind of either on one end of, on each end, right? Some people are feeling very creative, and other people are just like, we're in a global pandemic. Like, you know, like you're not working from home. You are at home working during a global pandemic.
Yeah, it's not that like leisurely, like you're working from home, like, oh, I just have the day to work at home. It's like I am doing my normal job. I watch my wife do it every day, and it's fucking brutal because I guess the office is a release for you in a certain way. Like you get to go and stretch your legs, and then you're
see people, talk to people. You know, your coffee break is like, right? Now I'm just walking into the living room, walking back.
Dude, and so all right, so let's get to where we are now. So I was interested in bringing you on right away because we haven't had a lawyer on yet. We haven't had the legal side. But for more than anything, the reason I really wanted to have you on is because the conversation that we've been having on the podcast, and the name of the podcast is the Kill Your Internet Podcast, and we're kind of enamored with the culture that we live in today. And authenticity to me was one of the things that I've been harping on. And it's hard to find authenticity in the modern world or just online. And Kelsey, to me, just knowing you and also watching the way you operate and the things that you kind of champion and think you're passionate about, you're authentically you. Like, I don't know how else to put that. Like, did at any point in your career you ever feel like you weren't your most authentic self and then left to do something that you were more authentically involved in?
Yeah. I mean, and so I'll take this from just like the social media, internet space, right? Because perception is reality. And, you know, I think I started like a Twitter when I was in law school, and I started it as a professional account, right? Because I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to have this platform to learn about some of the legal things that were happening and really interact with people.
Right.
And so I, at first, like on the internet and all social platforms, I made a very conscious effort to like present myself in this prim and proper way.
Yeah.
And to, you know, I'm in a suit and I'm using like, I don't curse on the internet. I don't like type out, curse words.
I need to stop doing that.
My mom, really just like in general, like, those Northeast Philly Irish Catholic parents are just not exactly, they're not for that. So, I try to keep mom right there. And so I definitely had that side of me, and it wasn't authentic at all, but perception's reality. And at the end of the day, I need to make sure that everything I was putting out there could be read aloud in court.
Right.
For any reason whatsoever. And my career trajectory a bit, but I practiced law in Philadelphia for about 2 years. And I got the opportunity to leave the law entirely for a bit and work on the TV show Blue Bloods.
Which, by the way, I remember the first time meeting you and you tell me that, like right away, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. How did you wind up in that situation?
I had a friend who was the executive producer of the show who I'd met through when a cousin of mine was on the show Castle.
Oh, okay.
And so I had stayed in touch with a lot of the cast and crew of that show, and they were just cool people.
Yeah.
And it's about that authenticity. Like, I was genuinely interested in every single thing that everyone there did. Not because I thought it could get me something, but because I don't do that. That's not my world. So learning about it, like the writers, the prop people, the directors, it's just, I found it so interesting. And so I stayed in touch with them, and he called me up one day and he was like, what are you doing? I was sitting in Rittenhouse Square.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, nah, and at that time I was happy. I was content. I had a good job, good place, all the fun stuff. And he was just like, why don't you come work for me? And I was like, what? Well, he's like, I'll put you in every boardroom. I'll introduce you to everybody and see what you want to do in this business.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, all right. And I talked to my mentors, like my judge that I was working for, my law firm bosses, and they're like, you got to do it. Like, your backup plan is that you're a lawyer,
Right.
And
at the worst, I'm a lawyer. I don't think it's a bad backup plan.
Right. So, I went from basically like having an assistant to being an assistant, right? That was my title role for him. I was the assistant to the executive producer of Blue Bloods. But to kind of bring this full circle is that I think going from such a rigid, like, legal space into the Hollywood space, opened me up to be a bit more, I don't know, to put myself out there a bit more, like everyone's there more expressive. I'm not like that. I'm not an actor.
Yeah.
I find like, I'm not an artist. You're an artist. You guys do some awesome stuff. And that's just not fully authentically me, but there's a part of me that is like that. And so that's how I try to put myself out there on the internet, is like,
well, the thing even from that, like, I found interesting is, and I mean, even the way that we wound up like just becoming friends and in the same space, is the idea of relationships. And in this world, we're still like, and especially in both industries, relationships are key. Like, was that like, since Blue Bloods, have you found other opportunities through that, or is it other relationships that you've built like along the way?
Oh, I mean, it's everything. It's, they say it's who you know, but I don't think it's who you know in the sense of like, oh, you got to come from a rich family, you're going to be this. It's who you know. It's the people you meet along the way. And at the end of the day, when I can go back now and visit the Blue Blood set, like, and walk around and roam free however I want, that's not because I know the executive producer. He's off doing another episode of the show somewhere else. It's because my friends are the crew of that show, the sound person, the prop people that are letting me in the door. That if I didn't know them, I wouldn't be there. If I wasn't talking to them, if I was some snobby person, I wouldn't be there.
It's so funny that when like you look back at it and you start to like grow into different aspects of your career and you're like, holy shit, I actually know that person. Or people that you initially were like, there's no way I'll ever meet that guy. Then you wind up being friends, find out that they're actually good people, and then you wind up moving to something different.
Right. No, it's insane. I mean, I don't know that Donnie Wahlberg would call himself my friend, but like, I could text Donnie Wahlberg if I want to.
Look, being that Donnie Wahlberg, I call Donnie Wahlberg my friend. So I'm just dropping his name left and right. You know what I mean?
I don't know that he would consider me his friend, but I will say he's been very good to me, and everyone on that show has been so good to me, and the cast and the crew are just awesome. And again, it's led to every opportunity that I've had since then.
Okay, so that leads me perfectly into, all right, so in the 10 minutes we've been having this conversation so far, we've already covered law, and assistant to the executive producer of a major network TV show. Where are we now? Like, what are you up to right now, career-wise? Because you're all over the fucking place, and I love it. Like I love to watch it. Right. But there's been this like one thing that I've really noticed that I've really enjoyed to watch. Once again, as I can kind of see you like putting yourself more out there, it's the advocacy for women's sports.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even something that when we first met we were having a conversation about. But to like watch you grow in and kind of like launch yourself into that space, what was it like? Was that something you always felt passionate about, or you got involved with and you were like, holy shit, I want to be involved in this?
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably at some point I had this I don't know, like a reawakening into a lot of the injustices and unfairness of so many things, whether it's race or gender or anything like that. But, I played college sports. I played golf and field hockey in college. I coached college basketball before I went to law school. And I've always just loved sports.
Yeah.
I will say that like right now, my job title is business and legal affairs and in-house counsel at Abrams Media. So my day job doesn't even it has nothing to do with sports.
Right.
Right. So, but because of where I work, I have had the opportunity to write and to host podcasts and interview and meet people in the sports space, and it's given me a platform. I mean, that's what the job has done, is that, my day job is we're a media company, and one of the sites happens to sometimes put sports content out there, and Dan Abrams, it's run by Dan Abrams from ABC News, and he let me start writing for it. And that's how I got it. And it's like, it's nice to, you email somebody and, little old me, I would love to talk to Rebecca Lobo, Jay Billis, Muff McGraw, Don Staley, right? But why, right? Why are they going to come interview with me? But now I have a platform. I've got a platform, that for better or for worse, like all the presidents tweet, share, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And having that platform has led me to learn more and educate myself more. And then just, kind of pick that niche of women's sports. And, maybe that's why I became a lawyer. The sense of like injustice really irks me.
You have a strong moral compass, and this once again goes back to my authenticity, like kind of the way I'm shaping the way we're talking about this. But when we've had this conversation before, when we were talking about certain things, and some of the things you see online or just people in conversation generally, you don't know whether or not they really mean what they're talking about, or whether or not they're trying to gain some source of like social standing, or they just want to be in on the conversation. Like, to me, I have a semi-skeptical mind on some of that stuff, because I know what I really care about, and I try and usually go about it through action. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it's been a conversation we've had in the past. You, on the other hand, like when I see the way that you handle yourself, and you can tell that you really give a shit and you've immersed yourself in it. Like you've really immersed yourself in caring about women's sports and just about the advancement of women in our society. And I want you to know that, like, when you look at that from like my perspective as an outsider, I know right away you mean what you're talking about.
Well, I appreciate that. And
No problem.
I can't say that like from that what doesn't run through my mind is like, of course I'm always thinking like, well, is somebody thinking like I'm saying this or doing this to get something, or
isn't
to,
it so odd that you even have to have that thought? Like you honestly mean it all the time. I'll put something online and my first thought is like, somebody's going to take that the wrong way, or they don't believe me.
Right. I think that part of it is like, I obviously have those thoughts, but like, I know who I am. Right. Yeah. And, you know, I don't, if somebody's going to think that, I can't do anything to stop it. You know, I just gotta, my whole thing is like, I hope that people like, because I've met people from the internet, right? Like some people in the sports media world and et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I just hope that when you meet me, like what you see online is also what you get. You know, I'm a little bit, I have some knowledge, but I'm also pretty lighthearted, and I don't take life too seriously.
Right.
You know? That's my vibe.
It's like you said something in that last statement, like, and it's something I tell myself regularly, and it's, you can't control what other people think. Right. There's really no point in even trying, because like it's something that legitimately I sit around and I'm like, holy shit, did I say that? And like, are people going to think that? It doesn't fucking matter because I know who I am.
Yeah, and I think that is where the authenticity comes in. Yeah. And that's probably when I broke that barrier with myself. That's probably when I probably started to come across as really authentic, because I was like, this is who I am. You know, I'm not going to go out there and curse. I'm not going to go out there and make a ton of jokes or make fun of people, even though, you know, maybe I think it in my head. You know, like that's just because that's how I'm in person. I'm not going to.
That's a fact.
Right. You know, I just try to be nice in general.
Well, the one thing about you too, like I love the fact you always want to see everybody around you do well. Like when we first met, like there was no reason as to why, like we just met and had coffee and talked about the industry and law stuff, and you had no reason to do that other than the fact that you wanted to help, and that's nothing else. And like that's something to admire. No, I did it because I knew you would be famous, and hopefully you would let me play the cowbell or the guitar background. You're still allowed to do that, you know that, right? That's exactly. I think I said that to you day one. I was like, listen, I have one requirement for anything, is that you guarantee that one day I could play like third guitar. You can do whatever. Like, all right, hold on. So this is actually a good thing. So on a real note, like not Foxtrot related, but like if you had your dream job right now, like you had your dream, like, and not like discounting your current job, because obviously that is where you want to be. But I'm saying like you could work in any space, work in the WNBA, women's national team, work for ESPN, work for wherever. What would you want to, like, what would your, like, where would you want to go? I mean, my honest answer is I have no idea. That's a good answer. I really don't, because I like all of those things. I love all of the fun parts of those things. I don't know that I want all of the responsibility of a lot of those things. I like what I'm doing now, and that the stuff that I do in the sports world, like, because it can be tough, it can be competitive, it can be whatever, but for the most part, people are just super cool. Yeah. I just like that I don't rely on it for anything, so that if something's like, if I'm not feeling inspired to write, or if someone else got a scoop or something like that, like I don't care, because I do it for fun. You know, I like to tell the stories of it. Maybe dream job, I would run a production company focused on sports content with and also a minor focus on women's sports content. I love it. That's not a bad idea. I think you're well on your way, dude. I don't know. Are we? Well, we got to talk about this obviously off air, but so all right. So right now, other than that, you said you're running 2 podcasts, right? Yeah. Yeah, I got 2 podcasts. One of them is Colin Game. All right. And what we do, it's with my colleague Amba Jagnarayan, and we interview athletes and coaches and people in the sports media, and we talk about the issues of women's sports in the day. So like, we talk about the U.S. women's national team equal pay lawsuit, or college athletes not getting paid. So we've had on Jay Billis, Muffin McGraw, Ennis Cantor we just had on. No way. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Oh, that's awesome.
And so what we do is we call game on the fact that only 4% of sports media covers women's sports. So we're calling game on that bias.
Do you feel that that's starting to shift slightly? Like, do you feel like the once that, like, I feel like once it has been like known now,
right?
I feel like I'm starting to see a little more coverage of women's sports. And for me, as like once again, an outsider and someone who just loves sports, I'm starting to get more invested into it.
Well, I like to hear that. I do think that we're making waves. I mean, I think when you have the U.S. women's national team having success on that level, I mean,
exactly.
Like, I say this to everybody, like, I can't name one person on the men's soccer team. Like,
neither can I.
Right. But you can name some people on the U.S. women's national team. I'm sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, and I see more people walking around in U.S. women's jerseys than I see U.S. men's jerseys.
Right.
I probably see more Rapinoe jerseys or Ertz jerseys.
Yeah.
You know, and
go Birds. Sorry.
Go Birds. That's okay. That's a natural reaction. Don't apologize for that. But I mean, even like women's college basketball, they were showing replays of, I think it was the 2018 national championship game where I forget the name of the point guard from Notre Dame hit threes in the Final Four and in the national championship.
2 times. Yeah.
2 times. And that, to me, I was like, holy shit. Like, that was incredible to watch. And to me, like, it's good to see that there's more coverage. And
you see, Sabrina Ionescu out of Oregon, right? I mean, if you look at, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant and Gigi. Yes. You look at his public service thing that they had at the Lakers arena, right? And 3 people involved in women's basketball spoke, and there wasn't a ton of speakers. It was Diana Taurasi, Sabrina Ionescu, and Gina Auriemma, right?
Yeah.
Like, women's basketball, the women's sports needs advocates and allies and people like Kobe and people in positions of power to do that. And we're starting to see more of that. I mean, I don't know that the coverage is fully there yet, but a friend who's Elisa Hughes, she's the GM of Sky Blue FC. She said it best. She's like, women's sports has been working with only 4% of media coverage for all of this time, and look what they've accomplished.
Yeah, how do you even really step up and grow your sport when you can't even get your name out there because things aren't being spread equally?
But if you think about it from the opposite perspective, it's like, look what women have done with only 4% of media coverage.
Yeah.
You give it more, like, they've done so much. I mean, so I'm optimistic. Like you're saying, I do think it's growing. I can't tell you the numbers, but I think it's growing, and we still got a long way to go.
The thing I really like that you brought up too, the Kobe Bryant thing, and it leads me to kind of all the aspects of life. And it's the conversation that we brought up earlier was it's conversation versus action. And Kobe was a guy who talked about it, but he also like put his money where his mouth is, and he coached Gigi's teams, and he was involved. He was involved in women's basketball. And I think between the internet space and reality, we need to see less, like, still the right amount of talking, but even more action and putting things into place.
Right. And it just goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time, is like authenticity. And like the WNBA players have said, like, you could tell that Kobe was not in this like for show. Like, he was in it. They all felt that. They felt it because he was out there coaching young kids. He was out there coming to their practices, not getting photographed, stuff like that. Like,
that's the kind of shit I like to hear.
Yeah. And, I try to give some of the players credit who aren't doing that, because at the end of the day, we can all only do so many things, right?
Agreed.
Like, people like maybe get on LeBron for maybe not doing as much for women's sports as that, but like LeBron is doing some good in the world.
Yeah, and especially when we look at how much in athletics and in everything that activism has become more important.
Right.
You look, and we all just watched The Last Dance, obviously, and look how much shit Michael Jordan got for just not stepping out at all. And you've seen this growth, and people want to be involved in things, and it's something that is going to continue.
Dude, LeBron's got a school. He literally are putting kids through school. So my point being is that I think there's people that need to step up, exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And I think they are, and they will. But it's got to be. It's like anything. Like, people are only going to care about something that if they feel that it affects them.
Yep.
And so we got to make more people feel like that. You've got, like, what is it? Sports is a microcosm of society, right?
Yes.
If women are underpaid in sports, like, they're underpaid in every other aspect of, for doing the same work. Like, you had I want to just bring up this point too. Like, I don't know if your listeners or whatever recall, like the U.S. women's national soccer team have their equal pay lawsuit.
Right.
And U.S. Soccer, right, their employer literally filed with the court a brief that said that by birth, women are inferior and they have less speed and strength and skill and should therefore be paid less.
Dude, is this like 1742?
Right. No, this is 2020. This was filed. And it's like, so that's still a way of thinking. Right. And it's like
crazy.
Yeah. So that's just a microcosm of society. And so
it's also another conversation we've had off air. And it's things like, I always say, like, there's some shit in life that I have a hard time like getting overly enthusiastic about publicly, because in my head, I'm an optimist, and more than anything, it just seems like most shit is common sense.
Right.
And then so for me to get moved to like have a conversation like this, I have to like realistically say, like, this is a fucking problem, and I'm getting better at that. I think there's a lot of people in life who are afraid to say things because they don't want to be seen a certain way, like we talked about earlier, or they just don't think it's their place. And I think that's starting to shrink more and more in life.
I agree. I have my roommate, one of her colleagues that works for the feds. He started listening to my podcast because, I asked him to, or, I told him I had one. He's like, oh, I'll give it a listen.
Yeah.
And he literally texts me after every single episode to just be like, dude, I didn't even know that. Or I've never even heard of this person. They're insane. Like, and it's things like that. And it's, to me, that's worth it. Just if one person who didn't understand that Muffet McGraw was out there changing the game, or that Enes Kanter is out there, like, literally just advocating for human rights in Turkey and women everywhere.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. Enes Kanter's got the whole country of Turkey to worry about at this point.
Right. I think I might be on Interpol list too. We don't know.
Oh, that's okay. You'll be fine.
Right.
But to me, like the thing I really liked about that aspect of the conversation is it's the call to action, and it's how much we can impact and how much we have to put into like what we care about. And Kelsey, to me, like, you kind of embody that. Like, you talk about what you care about, but you also put it into action. You try and make change. And I think we can all do better at that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's something that I know like in our band, we have me, who I care very deeply about things.
You care very deeply about things and your people. Like, you care about your people.
But it's, to me, like, there's people like Will and Erica are much more vocal about things that they care about societally. Right. And to me, I kind of take that as like I can do better. I think everybody has to take a look at themselves sometimes, say like they can do better at those kind of things. And I give them credit where credit is due, because Will and Erica are both very vocal about a lot of societal issues. I think I like to like just stay off the internet most of the time, but those
you got to be authentically you. Like, you do things in your own way. You support things in your own way, and that's what it's about. Like, not everybody can be the voice out there that's this and that. Like, some people got to be behind the scenes doing this or the other. And I
said, like, I'm a big action person. Like, I'm big, like, I like to do things to move the needle. So, Kelsey,
right? Like, you're going to be doing shows for this and for that, and to help out this charity.
It's just like, and it's not only that; it's just putting people who wouldn't normally be in certain circumstances the ability for them to get in those circumstances. And I don't think I'm a big like raise my hand and say I did something person. Like, I just like to do it. But that's another conversation we've had in private. It's just like I don't need to get any like special treatment because I did something. I just want to do it because it's the right thing to do. Amen. Dude, Kelsey, promise me we're going to be able to do this again.
Whenever you want. Just as long as we can cheers over the internet. And
I'm lame right now, dude. I brought water. I suck.
Well,
you can't cheers water. It's bad luck. It's bad luck.
Slightly disappointed. Well, drinking alone is the new trend in
it is. Well, first off, in quarantine, there's no rules. There's no rules whatsoever.
Right. And we got the White Claw, so no law.
As soon as I can get back to New York, I will see you. Or if you get back to Philadelphia, we'll grab coffee. And dude, fucking great seeing you.
Dude, bleeping great seeing you too.
Yeah, test at the end. I love it. All right, Kelsey.